Note please the bottom right hand corner number is the slide number and the top right hand corner is the lesson number, and I'll read these out on each new slide so that those listening to the MP3 audio can follow it while reading the printed out PDF version of the lesson. Slide 13, Lesson 1, the Hebrew Alphabet. There are 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, from Aleph to Tav. Yeshua refers to himself as in the Greek it says Alpha and Omega, but in Hebrew it's Aleph Tav, the first and the last letters of the Hebrew alphabet, or alphabet. The alphabet is named after the first two letters, Aleph and Bet, this one here. Aleph is a silent letter, and which may sound a little bit strange to people used to English, but in Hebrew there's two letters that are silent, the Aleph and the Ayin over here. They're both silent, but they take on a vowel sound with dots and dashes that are added to them later. So in Hebrew, all 22 letters are consonants. The vowels, the A, E, I, O, U sound, is added with dots and dashes in Hebrew, and we'll look at those in a later slide. Second letter is Bet. Bet. I sometimes say bait, so please forgive me, it's a bad habit, but Bet is the second letter, and it's related to the word bait, which means house. Incidentally, Aleph can mean 1,000, or it can mean leader, or it can mean ox. So it's very interesting because it's the first letter. Right, let's get started with the lesson. That's 1, has a numeric value of 1, but it also means 1,000, which reminds me of Yahweh's word that tells us that one day is as 1,000 years. So that's Aleph. It's a silent letter, but it can take on a vowel sound, A, E, I, O, U, depending on the dots and dashes that are added afterwards. Bet has a B sound, B as in boy, and the third letter, Gimel, has a G sound, G as in God. The fourth letter, Dalet, has a D sound, D as in day. And you can see here that it's got a very similar sound, if you're familiar with Greek, to the Greek letters. In Hebrew it's Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, but in Greek it's Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta. So Hebrew, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, but in Greek, Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta. Now why is that? Well, simply this, that the Greeks got their alphabet from the Phoenicians, who got it off the Hebrews. So the languages are related. Indeed, even English is a relation to Hebrew as far as the alphabet is concerned, because we get our English alphabet from the Latin, who get it from the Greek, who got it from the Phoenicians, who got it from the Hebrews. So they're all sort of connected. The fifth letter is Hey, and it's got a H sound, like the letter H. Hey, as in hey. Sixth letter is Vav, this straight line with a little bit of something at the top. Vav, and it has a V sound, V as in van. Then we have Zayin. It's very similar to the Vav, but this little stroke goes all the way across. And that may be a little bit confusing for those first learning the language. There's some letters that look very similar. For example, this letter here, the Chet, looks very similar to the Hey. And the Vav looks similar to the Zayin. But you soon begin to notice the differences quite readily with practice. And Zayin has a Z sound, Z as in Zion, although Zion is actually pronounced Zion in Hebrew. But in any case, the Zayin has a Z sound. The eighth letter, Chet, has a Ch sound as in Loch or Bach. We don't have that sound in English, but we do have it in Scottish or Dutch, Ch sound, or German. And the ninth letter is Tet, and Tet has a T sound, T as in toy. And then we get to a letter that Yeshua mentioned, or Jesus mentioned Yeshua in Hebrew, and that is the Yod. Yeshua said, not one jot or tittle, or yod or tilde, will depart from the law until all these things are fulfilled. So this is the letter Yod, the smallest letter, and the first letter of the Lord's covenant name, Yahweh. And Yod has a Y sound, Y as in yes. 11th letter is Kaf, and Kaf has a K sound, or it can have a softer Ch sound. And it has two forms. There are 5 letters that have final forms. This is the same sound, it's the same letter, but when the letter occurs at the end of a word, the tail is extended, if you like, so the back to front C drops that lower part here, and it is extended downwards. It may seem strange to those who don't have that in English, but it's just like if you're writing with joined up writing and you just put a little flick at the end of the last letter. It's just like that in Hebrew. So there's only 5 letters that do that, so these ones in red, they're called the final forms. And Kaf has a K sound as in king, but it can have the soft sound Ch. Alright, the 12th letter, Lamed, has a L sound, L as in lion. This is the Lamed here. And next we have Mem, that has a M sound, M as in mother. And again, this has a final form. So when the Mem is at the end of a word, it has this final form. Nun, that's just like our letter N. Lamed Mem Nun, by the way, LMN. See, the alphabets are related. So Nun has a N sound, N as in now. Samak has an S sound, S as in sin, S as in sin. And this little Y looking thing is Ayin, and it's like the Aleph, it's silent. But of course the vowels in Hebrew are little dots and dashes that are added above or below the letter. So it takes on an or a or U sound, etc., or S sound, depending on what vowels, dots and dashes are put above and below it. And we'll see that a little later. Okay, we have the letter Pei or Fei. It has a P or a F sound, so it's P as in pastor, but it can have a F sound, F as in phone. Again, the Pei has a final form. It has this little tail extended, so this little thing here is extended straight down. And then we have Tzadi, and again it has a final form when it's at the end of a word. Tzadi has a Z sound, Z as in boots, a sort of TS or TZ sort of sound. The last 4 letters, we have a Kuf Resh Shin Tav, QRST, if you like. And you can again see that the alphabets are are related: English, Hebrew, Greek, Latin. So kuf has a k sound, k as in king. Reish, and again, notice that the kuf, by the way, has it's kind of like a back to front Q. So it's kind of like the letter Q. It's got a k sound. We have a reish, which is a back to front R sort of thing. So it's got a similar sound, r as in run. Shin, this three-pronged thing with a dot above it, it's a shin, and it has a sh sound, sh as in ship. When the dot is on the left-hand side, however, it has a s sound, so it changes from a sh to a s, from shin to sin. So it has the same s sound as the Samic when the dot's on this side. So every language has its quirks, and that's one of Hebrew's. The last letter, tav, has a t sound, t as in toy, and it used to have a th sound. In modern Hebrew, it's just a t sound. And we'll have a look at all these letters being sung in a song a little later called the AlephBet song. And we have a couple of movies following that with the Hebrew letters being flashed on the screen and read out. And then the next movie will have the letters coming up but with no sound, just with a musical background. Now, a really good way to learn the Hebrew letters is this software, which is provided on this disk, called the AlephBet quiz. You can also download it from the internet. Just do a search under AlephBet quiz, and it's by a chap named Robert C. Graff. Robert C. Graff. He's done a great job. Here it is here. And it has the letters written in English along the top here. Notice, by the way, that in Hebrew the letters go from right to left. Not like us, we write from left to right, but in Hebrew the letters go the other way. So we start at the first letter here, Aleph, and then go back this way, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, etc., all the way down to Tav. Now, the letter appears here in this little window, and you click the appropriate word that says the letter's name. So, for example, this is the letter Reish, and where is it? Here it is down here. If I click that, it will highlight it in red, and then it will show its numeric value, and we'll have a look at that in lesson 2. Okay, and then it comes up with another letter. If you get it wrong, this is the letter Nun, right here. If you get it wrong though, if I click here, it will highlight the correct letter, and it will say the letter out loud. So that's the AlephBet quiz, and you can just start that up, spend 10 minutes in the morning. I'd recommend doing it, 5 or 10 minutes in the morning and in the evening, and over a week or two you'll have the whole Hebrew alphabet memorized. I've had a lot of very good feedback on this software, so it's very, very useful. So that's the Hebrew alphabet. Now, these letters have numeric values used in a similar way to the Roman numerals for chapter numbers, and also numeric values of names, which we see in the book of Revelation.